Hi, my name is Paul Alexander.
Hi, my name is Jordan Brownmore.
Today we're going to talk about bias in the recruitment sector. How does bias creep into your business and what can you do to fix it? Recent events such as the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter highlight very publicly the extent to which diversity and inclusion are still a part of everyday life. What's often really less understood is how systemic and pervasive that issue can be without us even knowing. So I'm just going to cover a couple of the areas, but we normally think about diversity and inclusion in terms of ethnicity, race, gender, age, possibly sexual orientation. But then do we think about parental status, disability, values, religion, education, location, physical qualities, and even marital status? And artificial intelligence has the potential to create a fairer society, but misunderstood, it can unwittingly increase discrimination. In many cases, AI can reduce human subjective interpretation of data, because machine learning algorithms learn to consider not only the variables that improve their predictive accuracy based on the training data used, but models may be trained on data containing human decisions, or on data that reflects second-order effects of societal or historical inequities. So it can actually increase discrimination if not used carefully. So, how does bias creep into your business and what can you do to fix it?
So there's many areas in the recruitment industry that you can find bias or it might exist. And so not only is that including the actual main operational flow of recruiting, so who you're actually targeting in your company, but also the recruiting of who you're representing as a recruiting agency possibly. There's also HR with interviewing, training, career training, and obviously advisory support, marketing specifically on who you are targeting and what that messaging is, the content of your website and your customer service, and then of course your partnerships, whether it be with other companies or locally in the actual community. And so here's a perfect example of bias actually reducing the accessibility of resources to a subset of the population. In this case, it's actually to women. So there was a study in Europe that showed that male executives were actually 5% more likely to receive approved loans than their female counterparts. And then when the female executives successfully received loans, they were subjected to half a percentage point higher interest rates on average. And then further on, this is a perfect example of a large company poorly executing recruiting, and a large company who is, a matter of fact, one of the leaders in machine learning. Amazon created a CV ranking machine learning algorithm that ranked candidates from a 1-star to a 5-star, was actually found to be sexist in the sense of whenever it picked up anything that had to do with women, so whether it be women's leadership in a CV, it would negatively affect that candidate's score and suitability for that specific role. So of course, how do we fix this? So essentially at BA, we have 3 steps when we think about creating a model. So of course there's before the model. So you think about your input data and if it's proportionate and representative to the actual population. You think about what the actual model is for, and then during modeling, you think about how is the model going to or is training on all groups. And then after modeling, when the model is facing real world data, what is the model's prediction and loss, and is it equal throughout all groups and subsets? So in this implementation, it goes from independent review to the actual process implementation if you find yourself with a bias model. So of course, what we would do is we'd independently review the data in the model. So that's looking at the weights and biases and how it actually interacts with input data flowing into it. Further on, you kind of get the context through the situation of how the model was created and what it was created for, through conversations internally with the people that built the model and the people that manipulate and process the input data itself. And then thirdly, you scope out the model modifications and how it would be if this model was the most fair and strong in prediction accuracy as well. And then lastly, of course, you implement those changes to realize a better model that not only predicts accurately on more subsets or more populations in general, but also is much less biased and a stronger fit for you and your company.
So it's all about really answering critical questions of your models. In the data staging area, are there any features that were excluded? If so, why and was the data properly transformed? Are all of the groups represented proportionally when it comes to the protected feature of race? Are all races being identified or merely one or two? And is the input data uniform or is it different enough to have another model? And ultimately, what's the actual purpose of the model? What is the data going to serve the purpose of the model? Within the model build itself, is the prediction loss and accuracy moving as it's expected and predicted to? Is the model achieving its predetermined purpose? Is the model accuracy similar for all groups? And does the loss of an accuracy move in unison for all groups when you're actually training it? Is there any significant divergence between training and post-training data? So is there a massive shift in behavior when you're looking at both? So to sum up and recap our recommendations on how to look for bias in your own business. Well, firstly, recognize it. Bias can happen to any business, big or small. Prepare for it, be prepared to dig for bias. It may not be easily seen and it might not be sitting on the surface of the business or the data that you're looking at. Resource for it appropriately. So audit bias objectively if you're doing it internally or use an independent third party to be able to do it. Look at your people, monitor who you recruit, reward and retain within your organization. Review everything. Regularly review your communications and look at your data, but also look at your imagery and your audiences too. And then remember, developing your processes and models is a journey, not a destination, and it's a journey that you will be traveling on for quite some time to come. Thank you.
Thank you.